Okay, so the question being posed by this video are God, whatever that is, and the daemon the same thing. And this isn't a question I would have even really imagined posing a couple years ago. Not because I had some definite idea of what God is, but far from that. But just because I hadn't really even thought to categorize them as the same thing. And what brought that about for me was actually reading Henry Corbin, which I mentioned in a video, a couple of videos back. But Corbin, to him, God's not a person. God's not a being. That when we personify or anthropomorphize God, we're headed down the wrong path. He would describe God as the ground of all being. God is nothing, as in no thing. God's not a thing. We can't really even conceive of what God is outside of the source of everything. And he would, even though in some ways he was could be categorized as a Protestant Christian, he didn't have a Christocentric worldview, meaning he didn't. It's not like he was a Christian who was like, yeah, it's all about Jesus. Jesus is everything. He didn't necessarily buy into this Christian notion of a personal relationship with God. He didn't believe that was something that was possible or attainable. He believed God wasn't something you could have a relationship with, that nobody had access to what God really was. The closest we did have was our angel, what he would call our angel, what I in this video and in this series am calling the daemon or the daimon. And so that is the spark of divinity that you have access to. And so what's meaningful about this conversation or about this question is that if the daimon or the daemon has a purpose to bring you towards a higher state of realization, then that becomes a divine process, a divine goal, because the daimon is your conduit to divinity. So if you wanted to get grandiose about it, you might say, oh, well, so the daimon, if it's making me, if it and I are meeting at some middle ground, that must mean that I'm being pulled closer to becoming divinity. And I, even though I say you might be able to get there, I don't know if that's really the best way to look at it, or the most accessible way to look at it. But it might be. Maybe that works for you, and maybe that. But because God is so unknowable in this sense that Corbin talked about, what does it even mean to become more like divinity? Does it mean to become less of a thing? Does it mean to become less of a person? I guess maybe, but as far as my interaction with the daimon, I see that as becoming more of a person, becoming more actualized, becoming more realized, becoming more of who I potentially could be as an individual. So that doesn't feel like becoming no thing, except in the sense of maybe when you become perfectly realized, then it comes with the realization that we're all one, and in that sense you become part of this greater oceanic whole. So maybe you could get there if you held your head right, or you squinted. And there may be some days where I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. But right now, I do feel like the Daimon's interaction with me is definitely a footprint of divinity's interaction with me, and it's pulling me towards something. Whether that thing is my ultimate individual divinity, yet to be seen, but for now I feel like it's definitely pulling me towards being more me, more Patch. And so if my wife or my son or somebody watching one of these videos might be saying, you know what I really like about Patch is he's this, or he's that, or he does this. Hopefully what I get from my interaction with the Daimon is I become even more of that, as long as it's a good thing. You know, somebody, what I really like about Patch is he's really chauvinistic. I don't think that comes across in anything I say. I hope it doesn't, but if there's a positive attribute that stands out about me, then I feel like the Daimon is making me more of that, as long as that, whatever that is, aligns with who I am. It's the cicadas here in Lexington have just gotten really noisy. I don't know if you can hear that. I realize it's been windy. I'm going to watch this video over to make sure it's not too windy to hear. Hopefully those cicadas didn't drown us out. But anyway, that's the question I'm asking today, and I'm thinking about, is the Daimon God, or the Daimon and God the same thing? What are your thoughts?